NASA's latest Mars discovery is disturbing. Since news broke, Elon Musk and Joe Rogan have commented, but for their comments to make any sense, we need to give some context. A picture was released by NASA that has gone absolutely viral on the internet. It is a picture of a square-like structure on the surface of Mars. To be honest, I don't make videos like this. In fact, this is kind of out of my range, so forgive me, my current subscribers. But I felt it was necessary to comment on, as someone who considers themselves rational. This is personally disturbing. My worldview has been challenged, and I mean that sincerely. The implications of this photo being true, of it being real, are unimaginable. Today, I want to talk about this picture, what it could possibly mean, and why this could change the worldview of almost anyone that sees it. Now, we have to discuss if this structure was intentionally made or not. There are instances in nature where there are shapes that are created in either some square-like structure or even hexagon, I believe, depending on where you are in the world and the interesting proclivities of nature that make it shaped that way. Could that be the case here? Judging by the fact that there's no other square or any other definable shapes outside this one, I'm gonna say probably not. Probability of this being one of those natural occurrences is very low and hence not possible. But this is why this is concerning, especially based on the comments some people have said, which we'll get into. But I don't know if you're like me and you've watched alien documentaries that are 3 hours long and you get to the end of it and you're like, honestly, there's like, I don't really see anything. You know what I mean? Like, there's not really any good like smoking gun evidence for anything, okay? I don't know where you're at with aliens. For me personally, I think single-cell organism on other planets are plausible. With scientists coming out about the probability of there being life on other planets, statistically speaking, I think it is rational to believe that is the case. Now, are these intelligent life forms? Well, how intelligent does a life form have to be to make a square? Could this have been, again, this is, I can't believe I'm saying this. Are there any animals in nature that make square-like structures? From what I could find, no. There wouldn't be any reason for an animal's habitat to have corners to where it was in the animal's best interest to make the corner. Guys, I hope you're sensing the tonality of this video. I mean, the reason I'm making this video is I'm questioning things. I think it's important for this channel to be as objective as possible. In fact, if you haven't already, consider subscribing. I like to give neutral stances to what's happening in pop culture. But this thing is throwing me off. But here's my line of thinking. If the square isn't a natural occurring pattern in nature, that means it had to be intentional, okay? Now, I'm sure some of you are saying, maybe the picture is faked. Okay, maybe this isn't real. Okay, so let's question the source of this image. The original picture came from asu.edu, so Arizona State University. I don't know why an academic organization would purposely fake something like this. I honestly don't see how it benefits them to do that. And honestly, if for some reason it was to stir up some kind of buzz, they would have done a better job on their website. If you take a look at the website where this picture is originally posted, there's no, from a marketing perspective, call to action. There's no, we found something on Mars. They're not driving traffic anywhere. They're not doing anything with this attention, if that makes sense. So it wouldn't make sense for them to fake this. I'm going to consider the possibility of them faking it highly unlikely, and again, from a statistical standpoint, near impossible. But the other criticism you could have is maybe one of the rovers made this. For whatever reason, maybe NASA wanted to, I don't know why, let's not get into intentions here, but could one of the rovers have made this square? To give more context, there's a source saying that the length of the square from end to end is 770 feet. So that converts to almost a little bit over 2.5 football fields. If I was, for some reason, making a hoax, I feel like I'd make the square smaller. To make things even more weird, this is a couple feet smaller than the pyramids in Giza. I'm just gonna leave that there, okay? But for the rover to drive that far, would take days. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Where the rovers landed and this site. Also, I don't think these rovers have the equipment necessary to make these shapes in the first place. Some kind of shovel or some kind of tool used to move the earth in such a way. It's just not likely. And then you could argue maybe they sent an additional drone that they didn't tell people about, but the additional money to do that and the scale to cover your tracks literally and create this monumental structure on Mars without telling anyone about it is also very highly unlikely. So much so I'm going to say it's not plausible. But the best theory I've heard against this is the satellite taking the picture, so our mind somehow creates the rest of the shape. I did find someone deep in a forum online talking about how they cross-referenced the ASU's image with another map that a separate company or organization has, and how it doesn't look exactly alike. Although they're pretty sure they found the right place, but it looks more, the edges look softer than they do in the other ASU version. But I don't know, I think that might be the best explanation if you want to be a non-believer. And there were other people talking about how nature makes patterns, but it usually makes those patterns in clusters. Like there are things right next to it that have the same shape. It's not just a one-off shape. This is hands down the strongest evidence I've seen for intelligent life on other planets, at least at one point. I recently came across my new favorite explanation for aliens / intelligent life, which is Fermi's paradox, where it talks about the likelihood of intelligent life being alive at the same time is extremely unlikely and hence hasn't happened yet, especially if you're on the scientific timeline and how long it would take something to actually develop. But the thought of something intelligent making that structure on Mars and now is no longer there is very eerie to me. In some weird way, I almost want it to be not a hoax, but just a distorted picture, because that is so much easier to explain than that actually being an intentional structure, that being an intentional square. But let's talk about what Elon Musk and Joe Rogan think about it. When this photo went viral this weekend, Elon Musk commented saying, "We should send astronauts to Mars to investigate." A lot of the comments on that post were talking about how they should just send a Tesla robot to investigate, which honestly would be very interesting. Probably a lot cheaper than sending an actual astronaut to Mars. On top of this, Joe Rogan also commented on the situation and said, "This is effing wild." And honestly, his response is valid. Think of the likelihood of this actually being a natural occurring structure. It's incredibly rare at best. But after taking a second look at it and even uploading this image to Gemini, Google's AI, and asking it what it thinks, it's probably just our minds making a square. Sadly, as much as I want to believe this is some kind of ancient alien civilization, think of how much easier it would be for it just to be a random pattern on Mars, right? And Gemini brought up a good point about there'd probably be evidence of roads. Like we'd probably be able to see clearly defined roads going across the planet if there was anything there before, you know what I mean? But again, NASA does think there is water, I believe 6 to 12 miles below the surface. So maybe there's stuff living in that. But in terms of intelligent life, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But that's not the only crazy thing happening on the internet. With the drone situation happening in New Jersey, a lot of people have been asking questions. However, a drone expert commented and his response will shock you. To find out more, check this video out and I'll see you in the next one.